Did you catch the Grammys last night? Anybody watch the Grammys last night? I'm not a big award show guy. I don't really like
No, me neither.
I find it very like they're either like not rigged, but they're either like political or it's like I go back to your guy, Seabash, Kendrick Lamar losing to Macklemore. Come on, that was a good Kid Mad City album, and you're telling me Macklemore with the fucking thrift shop? No,
ain't no way.
Like
no, it was a song where he loved. He was talking about his uncle being gay or something. Like that's the song that won the Grammy.
Like last night, a bunch of good albums. Like Justin Bieber's album was up, Doja Cat's album was up, Donda was up. But who won album of the year? John Baptiste. And I was like, pardon? Like he was shocked. Billie Eilish's album was up. Like there was I think Ariana Grande. I don't know, like big names. And he was like, when he won, he's like, no, like
Beyonce, Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
Jackson.
Yeah. Which is actually a perfect segue into the episode because this is our Lob It Up Award episode. Obviously, the season's not completely over yet, but for the most part, I think we understand where the awards are. So, with that being said, welcome to the Lob It Up Podcast. We are your hosts, Tobias, Steve, Ash, and Chris. Boys, how are we doing this week? How are we doing today? Chris, you finally got your mic set up, sounding crisp and clean. How you feeling today, Chris?
Not too bad. Morning's a little rough, but other than that, we keep it moving. We get it going. Just came back this weekend from like a nice Cotty break. That was sick.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's unreal.
Bro, stunning cottage, bro.
With the the blinds that automatically go up.
Bro, man, that was one of like 4 cottages like on their property, bro. That's crazy, but so much fun.
I have a little bit of a gripe with Chris about that. I don't find out about this until he posts a picture of like a mansion. I'm like, bro, where are you? He's like, I'm just chilling with the guys. I'm like, huh?
Where?
Just there.
I'm like, wait, what?
Actually, speaking of that, I'll save it for. It's not really my hot take, but it'll be a hot take after. I'll tell you when we do the hot takes. I'll save it for it.
All right, here we go. Earl said some shit up.
No, it's actually not Earl. Surprisingly, it's Jeff. So
all right,
yeah,
but yeah, I had to find out the hard way from this guy Chris. Apparently, you guys knew, but I saw him in the woods as he was hanging out. He posted a caption I cannot say, but it seemed like he was having a good time.
I thought it was hilarious.
Happy for you though. Oh, it was hilarious. Yeah, not even a question.
Steve Ash, how are you doing, man?
Doing all right. Also had a little bit of a rough morning, but we keep it moving. We're gonna keep the energy up. I am excited for this episode. We're gonna have some hot takes. We're gonna have some outrageous takes. Yeah. And if I start yelling, do not take it as me being an aggressive person and me condoning violence and just trying to slap somebody. So don't come for me.
Okay, so speaking of takes, let's get into our takes of the week, and then we will get into the Who Said What segment, and then of course the meat and potatoes of the episode, the awards with the Lob It Up Awards as well. So, Chris, I'll let you start it with your take of the week. What do you got for us, man? Is it Raptors related?
No, it's not Raptors related. No take, even though my take of the week should have been Kyle Lowry's amazing welcome home tribute, which is very well done. Legend, going down as the greatest Raptor of all time, basically. But my hot take is actually yes, I said
that was dope. That was dope.
It's coming from Jeff, actually. So how when we were out in London, we're asking everybody, where do you rank Kobe in your top 5?
Very, very intoxicated.
Top 5.
I thought about that. Sorry, just to cut you off. I thought about that like a couple days after I had finally recovered, and I just remember telling this poor man. They were at like the Steve's Chicken Joint or something, and I went into the restaurant asking everybody, and the guy didn't give me the answer I wanted. So I look over at him, piss fucking drunk. You're irrelevant. I'm like calling this guy irrelevant. I'm like, oh my god.
You can't ask this man his opinion and then tell him no.
I easily could have got punched in the face that night. 100%.
Oh, bro, we all could have at that point. Like, we were going around just stopping people at the bar in the bathroom. Like, yo, who do you think is better, LeBron? It's like, bro. And every time somebody said what we didn't agree with, we would just get so aggressive. We're like, no, man,
get out of here.
That's so funny.
So I asked Jeff. I was like, yo, like, where do you place Kobe? Like, this is Kobe in your top 5? And he's like, yes, Kobe's in my top 5. And I was like, okay. Out of curiosity, who is in your top 5?
Oh no.
So we had LeBron at number 1.
I like this.
He had Jordan at number 2. He had LeBron at 3. He had Steph at 4.
He had LeBron twice?
What?
You said he had LeBron at number 1, Michael at number 2, LeBron at number 3.
Oh, sorry, not LeBron. Actually, sorry, he had Steph at number 3. He had Kobe at number 4. And then I think he had, I'm pretty sure it was...
Kevin Durant at 5?
No, I think it was like Giannis. Giannis at number 5.
So I have a question.
Hey, bro.
I have a question. And I don't mean to be disrespectful. Jeff, if you're watching the episode, please don't come for me. How long has your friend been watching basketball? Like, with 5 years? No.
A long time. And he said... And
I already assumed that.
No, he did say, like, yes, his take is very, very... Like, he's like, yes, it's a very hot take. But then he has also said he's much like you, and he's watching, like, what... Like, yes, players like stats and like how, like, numbers, blah, 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 all that stuff, but also like how they've affected the game of basketball and how they've changed the game. And like Steph has like really changed the game of ball. Kobe's changed the game. LeBron's changed the game. Michael's changed the game, and like Giannis is changing the game, especially for international players and stuff like that.
But
people are starting
to
to
not
look
have
at
Kareem, to not have Magic,
Kareem is
like bro, you're talking about hot takes. That man went up with Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and reached into the core of the sun and said, here's a take for you. Like, that is very hot.
That's what I said. I was like, whoa, that's super hot take, super hot fire.
Yeah.
No, Kareem, not having Kareem in there, that's tough. Man, because Kareem, he has the most points in the league. He's played for 20 years. Yeah. He kind of revolutionized the game, if you think about it. And even if you go with that argument, I would say AI revolutionized the game more than Giannis.
Yeah.
Magic. 100%. But
the no look,
that's crazy. That's
crazy.
And what, do you agree with that, Chris? Like,
I agree to an extent. I was like, I see where you're coming from. Obviously,
that's
not my top 5. But I was like, I get it. I understand.
Remember, Chris goes, I see where you're coming from, but that's bullshit.
No. Yeah.
That's crap.
He didn't have Shaq in his top 5. How you feel about that? He didn't have Shaq in his top 5.
That's what I said, too. I was like, you're not going to have Shaq? And he's like, no. He's like, honestly, like, you're right and stuff. And I was like, and if you have, like, Kobe, blah, blah, blah. What about Tim Duncan? He's like, also very, very true. He's like, Tim Duncan and Kobe have very, very similar, if not identical accolades for things. And like, nobody gives love to Tim Duncan just because he was not flashy, wasn't a flashy player and stuff. So he's like, very fair. He's like, I could have Shaq, Tim Duncan, any of those guys coming in at number 5 too. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I think Giannis is a little too early. He's got
definitely
a great career ahead of him. Oh, absolutely. He's definitely got the potential, but I think it's just a tad bit too early.
But even the way he's playing this year, I think you tweeted it, Tobias. Like, this guy could potentially win every award this year.
Yeah, we're talking like
Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, we're talking like 1988 Michael Jordan. Like, that's what I had said. Like, MVP, he could win DPOY. Like, he could win the scoring title, and then who's to say he doesn't go out and win a back-to-back champion? And then if they go to the finals, most likely he wins the championship. He's the finals MVP, which Michael didn't even do that. But yeah, man, I honestly do think, again, I agree, Steve Ash, too early to tell. But I think I do think Giannis retires a top 5 player of all time, and I think he can easily become the greatest player of all time. So.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Steve Ash, your take of the week. What do you got for us, man?
This goes back to another top 5 player of all time, somebody who is a top 5, arguably top 1 player of all time. It's kind of about LeBron James. The bigger point I do have is everybody talking about how LeBron's stat padding right now, and how he could sit out the season. They're gonna lose anyways. Why is he playing in stat padding? I think we gotta take a seat back and talk about what stat padding really means. Going into a game and scoring 40 points and trying to make your team win, I don't know if that's stat padding.
Yeah, that's not.
I'm not sure. Like LeBron, like an example I think back to is Kobe in 2013. The only year Dwight Howard was there, when he busted his ass to make the 8th seed. And he got injured in the last game of the season, and they went on to lose to the Spurs that season. Was Kobe stat padding by playing those games and trying to win and get to the playoffs? No. I think stat padding, the prime example of stat padding is another teammate of LeBron James, is Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
Westbrook would be, stat padding would be, hey, the best play would be center gets the ball and throws it down on the other side of the court if there's like 2 seconds left, which is exactly what OKC did a few years ago with Dennis Schroeder against Timberwolves. What Russell Westbrook would do, no, you know what? I got to get the rebound because I'm close to that. Triple-double. Let me just get that, and then I'm going to throw the pass.
And then jack up a shot.
Yeah, that's stat padding. LeBron James playing, and another thing, LeBron is towards the end of his career. You want the man to sit down while he's playing well, while he's warmed up already. You want him to just take a chill pill. We don't know what's going to happen. What if he just gets injured next season? He doesn't get to all the things he wants to get to. Let him grind out.
Exactly. Man's doing his very best to keep that team, not only that team, that like shipwreck afloat, man.
They're done. They're done, bro. Like they're so bad.
Like I was watching the game Friday night when I was up there, and it's just like, man, even looking at Westbrook, like I'm talking with Jeff, I was like, it's like Westbrook has literally 2 moves. Like 2 moves, that's it. Just grabs the ball, turns on the jets, and boom, drives down the center, or like just tries to jack up a shot. And he has like you said, like, see, the guy's definitely stat padding, because it's like there were plenty of possessions where it's like, man, just have a tiny bit of court vision and just see you have some open players, but you have 2 people double teaming you, but you're still gonna try and jack up a 3. Why?
Yeah,
like
there's definitely a general, unfortunately, because I talk and tweet so much about the Lakers, unfortunately I get a little trickle of Lakers Twitter on my Twitter feed, but there's just a overall general, from what I'm gathering, disappointment with the fan base of the team, like just in terms of their effort, their lack of care, and that's by everybody. That's not just by 1 or 2. We're not exempting anybody on that team. That's even LeBron. Seems like there's a lack of care, not in every game, but in a lot of the games, and it is brutal because I got one of a previous take on here that we're gonna get to eventually, but this is a team where it was like this was their championship to lose. I said that at the start of the season as a photo. Steve, you replied and you said 1,000%. If they fuck this up, LeBron is going to get roasted. And we're starting to see that there's always going to be the LeBron sexuals that are going to defend him, and it's not his fault. Injuries. But we can talk about other teams. Let's talk about the team in LA. The other team in LA. Kawhi, PG, Norm, all out for a majority of the season, and they've carried afloat. So I get it. The injuries obviously do factor in, and obviously that's terrible to see AD go down and LeBron in and out throughout the season. But at the same time, and this is not really a player's fault. Sure, as a unit they need to work together, but also the Lakers organization, you didn't surround the team with the right pieces to say, okay, look, we've got LeBron not getting any younger. We've seen his injury history kind of ramp up over the past couple of years. We've got AD, who's literally made of glass. You know what I mean? We need to surround them with a team that can actually carry them and help them out. Not carry them, but help them out.
And I think that goes to the bigger point of what you just said about the Clippers. They have a team. The Lakers have 3 guys who are earning over $40 million a year. The rest of the team is mid-level players and minimum players. It's not a team. You take away LeBron, you saw what Russell Westbrook and AD were doing. It's not a well-rounded team. You cannot have a team, and I'm going to get to this point a little later, a little foreshadowing. I'm going to bring up the Lakers at some point during the award talk. But the team is just not well-rounded. And sure, you can blame one player, but at the end of the day, we just got to take a look at everything.
That's Lakers culture, though. That's always been Lakers culture. It's the Lake Show. It's it's sexy. It's flashy. In comparison to the Clippers, they're blue collar. They're grit and grind. Like the Lakers, they're flashy. What was the era when there was Kobe and Shaq? What did they call it all the time? Showtime Lakers with Magic and Kareem. Like they're exciting. It's La La Land. They attract these top end guys, but just because you have 3 guys that are Hall of Famers, 4 guys that are Hall of Famers on your team, possibly 5, making over 40, 3 of them making over 40 sheets, that doesn't mean you're gonna win anything. And I don't know. It is unfortunate because I want to see Melo win, bro. Like, I actually want to see Melo win a ring.
I know.
I forgot Melo was on that team.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, this guy's been so quiet lately, man. It's like...
But this is a perfect segue to my take of the week, and we're just, jumping on each other, so this is awesome. But Lakers fans, bro, gotta be some of the most deluded. And I'm gonna exclude you from this, Chris. Don't worry, you're saved on this, because I've never heard you say anything blasphemy like this. Lakers fans gotta be the most delusional fan base I've ever seen in my life. I was on Twitter yesterday, and they were talking about the issues in Utah, which I do think that, if Utah is out in the first round, I do think that there'll be a shakeup with that roster. But Lakers fans proposed Russell Westbrook, THT, and a first round pick for Donovan Mitchell, and they genuinely thought that was a good idea. No. I was like,
"That's a troll. That's a troll.
No. I wish it was, brother. I wish it was. Bro. I was stunned. I was floored. I could not believe it. I could not. They're like, Donovan Mitchell definitely wants out of Utah. He's done in that system. He hates Rudy. So the Lakers should make a trade. And I'm like, bro, why would Utah, first of all, want Russell Westbrook? Your next first round pick is like 2027. So
which is valuable.
Yeah, you mortgage your whole future to get a fragile piece of glass in Anthony Davis. Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Larry Nance was there. I don't think he was there, part of that era. Josh Hart, they had Julius Randle. All these guys, they moved out. That's their whole future. Look at all those guys. They're shining stars in their own system. Even Kyle Kuzma, he's doing well in Washington. And it's just like, you mortgaged your future for what? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It hasn't worked out. I'm not here to say whether it's valid or not. Some people say it was the hardest championship to win. Some people say it was the easiest championship to win. I was not there. I cannot comment on that. But you basically mortgaged all that to get AD to win a championship in the bubble. Whatever your opinion is on the difficulty of that, it is what it is. But it's that comparison of, looking back, would we rather keep all those picks? Would we rather keep all those guys? And then use that system going forward. So that's my take of the week. It's not really up for debate. It's just the Lakers fans are the most delusional fans I've ever seen.
I mean, I'm not gonna disagree with your take of the week, but I'm gonna disagree with. Would you reconsider that trade with AD? You got a championship out of it.
I understand.
How many teams do we know that haven't won in the past 20, 30 years or never won?
Yeah.
I think you will make that trade any time of the day, and they just, whatever happens afterwards, of course. But
I agree. Yeah,
for that championship, you have to.
I agree. That's what you do. You make trades to win championships. At the end of the day, that's the name of the game. You want to win a championship. I guess I'm just speaking more for the Lakers organization, because how many years does LeBron have left? 3? How many quality years? Bro, I was watching the game and they were saying, like last night, they said, "Oh, there's vintage Anthony Davis." Bro, Anthony Davis is like 29. Like, what do you mean vintage? This guy's in his prime. You know what I mean?
He should be prime.
We're talking about Russell Westbrook. Like, I don't even need to say anything about Russell Westbrook. He might come up in an award that we're going to be talking about. Like, I don't know, man. It's just like, you mortgaged all that. I get it. You got a championship. That's great. But for the Lakers organization in the future, I don't know, man. It's tough. I gotta get some water. Oh, that take was so hot, my mouth is dry.
I don't know, bro. I don't know if that's a hot take. I think that might be a little bit of a drier take. That's why your mouth dry. Because everybody knows Laker fans are just Laker fans. Bro.
They're nuts.
That, bro, I can't imagine that being a serious trade idea, because everybody knows the THD thing is a joke. Being like, oh yeah, this player, THD, and it's like the Cavs, Tristan Thompson, Iman Shumpert, the Brooklyn Nets pick. It's just kind of like, it's an ongoing joke. So I can't imagine that being serious, but if they are. But going back to the Jazz, I'm not sure if we're going to touch on them in the near future, but yeah, bro, it's getting interesting down there, because there was a stat that went around that they found out the number of times Donovan Mitchell has passed the ball all season to Rudy Gobert.
I saw that.
And it's averaging out to like 2 passes a game. Not assists, not potential assists. Yeah. Passes. Hey, here you go. 2 passes a game, 48 minutes.
I've seen clips where Rudy's just like, he's like
wide open,
dominating in the paint. Yeah, like bro, you're too small. Like, you're too small. Just give me the ball, I'll dunk over you. And it's just like nothing's going on. And I actually kind of felt bad. I was like, yo, like, you know, I've heard we'll probably talk about this maybe in the future, but I've heard talks about if he's getting traded, the Mavs would be interested.
Raptors.
You know, the Knicks, the Raptors would be interesting. I heard about the Clippers because we were talking about, you know, you and I were talking the other day about centers and whatnot. I don't know, but you know what I mean? Like, so I definitely think that if they don't get out of the first round, there could be some movement there in Utah. Okay, so let's move on to some previous takes that we'll reflect on and look back at, and we'll just keep with the Lakers flavor. Here's a take here, made on February 2nd, not so long ago. You know, only 2 months ago. The Lakers will finish higher than the Minnesota Timberwolves. Who said that?
That might be me right there. I don't know.
I don't think it was me. I've been riding pretty high on the T-Wolves. I want to say C.
Yeah, I think that's me because Tobe, you know, that's his guy.
It would never be me.
It would never be me. It would never be Tobe's. Never. That's easy.
It was Seabash. It was Seabash, but Chris, you quickly agreed.
Oh,
you quickly agreed.
That's my guy, though. You know, he's just standing up for me.
I can't see that.
Yeah.
Maybe he made a convincing argument. I don't know about.
Go reflect. February 2nd. Because I wrote it down. I was like, I gotta write these dates down so the boys can go back and look, just in case they think I'm spewing some bullshit.
I'm gonna have to go and reflect.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fake news. I never said that.
Yeah, fuck off. No, because the conversation was around, you know, Minnesota's good, but at the end of the day, like, I think you had said, Seabash, the history of Russ is usually he has a brutal start, but he starts to figure it out in the second half. Again, you can attribute that to injuries or whatever, but you already know my comments on that. You got to battle through the injuries and try to get wins. Minnesota.
The point is, I'm a Russ believer, while everybody's a hater.
Well, there's not many of you, so that's great. Next one, in kind of tune with what we're going to be getting to eventually here with the awards. Someone said that Ja Morant will easily be one of the best players in the league in 2 years. This was 3 games into the season. This wasn't halfway through when he was killing it. This was 3 games into the season.
I know I ride very, very high for my guy, Ja Morant, but I feel like C would come at my neck if I said that. So I'm going to say it's Tobe. I'm saying it's you, Tobe.
Hey, bro, this, like, the fact that you guys think I'm a Ja hater, I'm a Ja believer as well. No, I can't imagine that. I don't think I might have said, I don't know, bro. I think it's going to be Tobe or Chris. I'm going to go with Chris.
It was me. It was me.
Nice.
Yeah, I like, again, riding on, we're going back from, you know, at the end of last season, the awards. I became a big fan of Ja based on one game, and it was that play-in game against the Warriors, the dog mentality. I was like, oh my God, this guy is so good. He's continued it this season. And yeah, I stand by it, man. Like, he is so good. This is his second season, correct? Or is this his third? This is his third season. So going into his 4th year, like, how possible do you guys think it is that he wins an MVP next year? There was talks about him this year being in that conversation before he went down for injury, but how far-fetched do you guys think it is for him to win an MVP next year?
I don't know. I think it depends, like, the pieces around him. I don't see that it's not unlikely that he doesn't do that. But then also, too, you have to take into consideration how good his team is, like, without him, too. You know, that's a well-built team. So, I don't think maybe next year. Maybe, like, the year after. Maybe, like, 5. Like, year 5 and all.
Okay.
You could do that, for sure.
Steve?
I think it would just depend on the situation around him as well as who else is competing for it.
Sure.
I think MVP, there's a lot of players, even this year we talk about, who are well deserving of MVP, but at the end of the day, it just depends on who's outperforming who and who's really the narrative, man. It really comes down to that as well. I think narrative is a big part of the MVP conversation.
For sure. Okay, I got two more, and then we'll move on to the awards. This player just got one of these players just got nominated for the Hall of Fame. I wish I had the list in front of me because we definitely should give them recognition. But this was a take. This was a take that was put out there, and I'm hoping that this person can maybe just further explain what they were talking about. Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker are the best trio in the past 2 decades.
That's definitely me.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's easily C.
So, like, we know that you ride for your boy that won a gold medal for the Argentinian Olympic team,
right.
But like, do we stick by this? Is that the best trio we've seen in the past 2 decades?
What are the boundaries of this?
Brother, you tell me. You're the one that said it.
No, because I'm just listen. Harden, KD, and Kyrie.
Sure.
That's definitely like the best one we've seen, but they played
I'd say best 1.5 seasons, but like maybe like not chemistry.
Yeah.
But and again, they played with each other for 1.5 season. Like, bro, the Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, and Tim Duncan were playing each other for almost a decade and a half. Like,
that's true.
Dude, it's just I don't know. I can't think of any other. I guess of course, what's his name? Braun, D Wade, and
that was my
Bosh
thought.
Will be, yeah.
I think that would be a very heavy contender.
But now I know what you're saying though, because like they played for 4 years together. They won 2 championships. Those 3 played, like you said, probably a decade and a half together and won 5.
And they were one of the best dynasties. Like
maybe 4 for
the Spurs. The Spurs have been one of the best or the greatest dynasty we've ever seen for the past 20 years. And the whole team was always built around those 3 guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Sure, I will accept the argument for LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. Sure, they were better talent-wise. Sure, even Harden than those guys. I'm sure there's other guys like Russ, Harden, and KD back in the day. I guess we can think of that. But I think my take still stands because of just the longevity as well as just them being a winning team.
You know, I think after your explanation, now that I understand where you're coming from, I can agree. Like, I think I agree with that. Because the biggest thing being chemistry and longevity, right? Like, them staying together for so long. You know, they had that chemistry. We never really... And San Antonio, very similar to the New England Patriots of the NFL, they kind of keep everything in-house. Not a lot of stuff goes there. That's why when the Kawhi shit was happening, you know, a couple of years ago before he got traded to the Raptors, it was a surprise because San Antonio had always been this kind of closed-mouth team. Everything stayed in-house. We never heard any rumblings of issues with those 3. They always just kind of went to work, and you know, the big fundamental was the All-NBA guy there. So, what are your thoughts, Chris? Do you think that, you know, or would you ride with LeBron and those 3, or do you see where Seabass coming? Because they were both the same era too.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with like Seabass and stuff. And like I said earlier, like the D Wade, LeBron, Bosh is like a very close like second. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, like when we compare like LeBron to Jordan, it's like both are very good. Yeah. And both will do.
You can go either way.
Yeah. You can go either way, and like you're not losing out on anything really. Except I feel like you do get that. You get a little bit more consistency from. And that you said that longevity when it comes to the Spurs, right? Because they've been together so long, they played together so long. So, yeah, I would probably, me personally, I would take like the Spurs, and I would agree with
that. The Toronto
no charges are sticking to me.
the Toronto Raptors will finish 8-10, but will not make the playoffs. This person listed them originally at 11. Now I know a couple weeks in. This is where there might be some confusion when you look at your rankings. A couple weeks in, we did a rearrange of our standings, but who believed initially off the first drop episode that the Raptors will finish 8-10, but will not make the playoffs, and listed them at 11 initially?
I feel like that was you, Tobias.
I know for a fact that was Chris.
It was
Chris.
Because
I was just watching that episode as well, and Chris said that before our infamous our bet on the Raptors.
Yeah. That's why I was very surprised. It's like, oh my god, like he made a bet, but then he had them at 11. Like, what was he doing? But I mean, you hedged your bet, and it looks like it's gonna turn out for you. So
I'm paying off. So
yeah, exactly.
Here we go.
Oh, What the ass? Oh, never mind. I'm still good. Oof.
Okay.
I was just checking the standings here, and I saw. Cause I think last I saw the Mavericks were third, and then they moved down. And I was like, oh my god. I was like, no, never mind. It's 4. I'm still good.
Yeah,
I'm still collecting money from Tobes.
It's very tight. It's very tight. I think for some teams there's 4 games left. For other teams there's 3 games left.
Mm-hmm.
It's very tight. I think the Nuggets should worry less about trying to, maintain a 4 seed, and more so maybe about not getting in the play-in, because the Mavs have one of the easiest schedules in the league. I think that honestly, I think that they could probably get third, just because of their easy schedule that they got coming. But the Jazz, the Nuggets, and the Timberwolves, like, there could be some movement there, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it might be, for the most part, locked in. Okay, so those are the review takes. Now let's get into the NBA awards. So, before we start this is not a prediction of who we think is going to win the award. You can look at the odds right now and you can be like, oh, okay, Tyler Herro, based on Vegas odds, is blowing away everybody in terms of the most improved player of the year. He could be your answer for that award, but this is who, looking at the NBA this past season, the games that we watched, the talks that we've had on each episode, who do we believe should win each award? So we have the normal 6 awards, and then we'll get into the Lob It Up awards. So let's start it off. We usually start it off, small and go to big. Pause. But let's start it with most improved of the player of the year. Chris, do you want to start for most improved player of the year?
Most improved player of the year. Yeah, you know what? I will probably go with Darius Garland.
Solid pick.
Most improved player of the year. Like you said, we can look at the Vegas bets and they've got Ja up there, but I feel like Josh just had he's just on a steady thing. Like he's going. Whereas like Darius Garland, I didn't really know too much about Darius Garland in prior seasons when he was even drafted. Like heck, I was playing 2K20. And I was like, oh, Darius Garland was playing since then? Like, oh, okay, I didn't even know. But after his performances this year and stuff like that, and just how much he's helped improve the Cavaliers, has really shown me the value of this player and how hard he's been working to put in that work to become better. So,
yeah, this is one of the hardest probably categories we have out here, and I have 3 names written down. I think the 2 names that are definitely the most notable are Ja Morant and Darius Garland, as Chris mentioned. And Chris kind of took the words out of my mouth. I just don't think Ja would be the right choice in case of just because he was just on that projection. We knew he was going to be able to do this. He just had that low bump last season where every good player hits, where the team started adjusting to him. He's the first choice of the team. We know he's going to be that guy. Last year, he could have been an all-star, similar to how LaMelo was an all-star this year. It's just the spots out in West just didn't allow him to become an all-star. So I think the biggest leap we have seen is Darius Garland, as well as just with everything he's done for his team and bringing the Cavs to be one of the best surprises we've seen this season. They're sitting at 7th right now, so it's not looking as good as it did a few weeks ago, but I still think he's probably deserving of that award over Ja.
Yeah, I definitely agree that Darius Garland's name should be in the conversation. I think, Colin Sexton going down was probably the biggest bump for Darius Garland. I didn't see those 2 sticking together. I figured at some point they were going to have to move on from one of those guys. And I honestly, at the start of the season, probably would have taken Colin Sexton over Darius Garland. However, now with the Cleveland hasn't signed Colin Sexton, they didn't offer him his out of entry level deal, I guess you would call it, out of rookie deal. There might be some conversations there. Well, Darius was able to do it with Evan and Jared Allen all year. They kept the boat afloat. Maybe Colin Sexton becomes a bit more expendable. Definitely agree Josh should be in the conversation, but he's like all NBA type level player. So it's just, I don't know. Yeah. You know what I mean? I understand where you're coming from.
It's weird too, right? Because like a lot of people even said like this guy is rose to essentially like almost like superstar status, just like boom, he's just there. Yeah. But again, like everybody kind of already saw that projection and saw that potential.
So I agree with you guys on Darius Garland. I'm just gonna go with a different player. I'm gonna go to the West. I'm gonna go to a guy that I've talked about this year a couple times. I'm gonna go with my guy DeJounte Murray. Steady, putting up triple doubles. Again, we talk about seeding. The Spurs are, in the 10th seed right now. They're going to be in the play-in tournament. You can give credit to Coach Popovich, obviously, for just, instilling that wisdom in his players, but just very impressed with DeJounte Murray. We talked at the start of or midway through the season, Ash, about something that we wanted to see increase with DeJounte Murray to make him one of the best two-way guards in the league, was his three-point shooting. And in the second half of the season, he's definitely ramped that up as well. He's been more efficient when he comes to scoring. Again, I think his line, I don't know what it is right now, but I think his line midway through the season was like 18, 8, and 9. Like, he was doing a lot for that San Antonio team. So that would be a guy I would give some recognition to, DeJounte Murray.
No, I think that's a very, very well-deserved name. There's a lot of names. This award, as I said, is one of the hardest ones, but I think those three names are definitely one of the highest. I think I had him like 4th or 5th on my rank.
Okay, let's move on to another award that I think is a bit more, it's kind of, especially when you look at the Vegas books, the Vegas odds, it's kind of wrapped up. There's maybe 2 names that you could toss in here. I don't know what the second name now, thinking about it. I don't know if he might have played more minutes than a 6-man, but 6-man of the year award. Ash, I'll let you start. Who are you giving that head nod to for 6-man of the year?
At the beginning of the season, I had picked Jordan Poole as my pick for the award. I think he's still in the race, but the clear winner, I think, is Tyler Hero right now. He's played out of his mind. He's the obvious 3rd best player on the Heat, and yeah, he's just coming off the bench getting buckets. He's taken that leap as well. I think he's one of the names I had for my most improved as well, but I think right now he's definitely the clear 6-man of the year winner.
I agree. That's why I'm repping the Jack Harlow shirt. Him and Tyler Hero are good buddies. So,
wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. Tyler Hero, like we were talking before we recorded. He's like the 3rd best player on the Miami Heat. He's coming off the bench. He's being that 6-man, just scoring at will. Very exciting player to watch, especially because he had a pretty blasphemous take at the start of the season talking about like I should be in the conversation with Luka and Trey, and it's just like still don't think you're there yet, but like he's definitely put in work this year for sure. Chris, what do you got?
Yeah. No, 100% agree with both of you guys. Like you said, like mind you, I haven't caught like too many Miami games like this year, but then again,
too heartbroken. Right?
I know.
Just watching your ex do so well. It's
crazy.
It's like I gotta unfollow you on Instagram, bro. I'm not trying to see
everything.
I can't. No, everything. Not unfollow. I just gotta mute so you don't come up in my stories. Yeah.
Just come up having a good time. Fuck.
Yeah. It's like damn. Yeah. Just, but like looking at like the highlights, looking at this guy's stats, stuff like that. Yeah, it does seem like Tyler Hero has been playing like out of his mind, like you said, like, and especially coming off the bench. Someone saying like, it looks like. I think he's scored like he's averaging 20.4 points, something like that per game, which is like the most out of like any like bench player. So if you're getting like a performance like that from somebody who is consistently coming off the bench and is like reliable, then I don't see why this man wouldn't win it like hands down.
So we're all in agreement there. Moving on to the next award. I'll be completely honest with you. When I was thinking about who should win this award, this is another award that really could go to a lot of different people. I think each of us could honestly have a representative to win this award. We could each make a case for our guy for Coach of the Year. Because of bias, I'm not going to pick my guy, but I do think that Chicago, Toronto, and the Los Angeles Clippers all have an argument for Coach of the Year. I'll start it. Yeah. I'll start it again. I'm not going to go with my guy. I'm going to go with another guy in the Western Conference, though, Taylor Jenkins for the Memphis Grizzlies. Again, no one expected this team to be where they are. Sure, that's credit to Ja, but Ja's been out for 22, 23 games, and the Memphis Grizzlies have gone like 20-2. So again, great depth on the team, but at some point we got to look at the coach, the man behind the bench, and give him a little head nod as well. So I'm gonna go with Taylor Jenkins for the Memphis Grizzlies.
I think with what you said about our coaches being a nod, getting a nod in this category, I really wish there was like an all coach, like a top 5 coach in the league kind of award, because I do agree. I think Ty Lue should get some kind of a nod, but not over the guys we're gonna name.
Yeah,
and it's gonna. I'm sure for the award, when the media members do vote for this award, a lot of coaches, including Ty Lue, are gonna get a vote, but definitely not for the main. But my pick for the coach of the year is going to be Monty Williams. I think, listen, man, the only team that's going to win 60 games this season, they've been cruising through the whole season. They've been beating everybody, going through injuries. At some point, Devin Booker was out. Recently, Chris Paul was out. They did lose last night. I forgot to what team. It wasn't the best team.
It was OKC.
I was going to say, I think it was OKC, but I didn't want to
Poku put up a triple-double.
I saw a great clip of Poku getting Chris Paul with his own move, which is a pull through. Because Chris Paul has talked about, he's like, hey, if you put your hand on my shoulder, I'm going to pull through. That's a foul. And I saw Chris Paul being pissed, and I love that.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, he pulled his own move on him.
Exactly.
Let's get it. But as I said, the Suns, Monty Williams, I think he should have won the award last year as well. But I think it's his award this year. 60 wins, the only team to win 60. I think he deserves it.
Okay. Yeah, like you said, all 3 of our teams could easily get, coaches could get a nod. And that's who I had. I had one of our team's coaches here giving them a little nod.
Nick Nurse.
No, I was going to give it to my boy, going with Billy and stuff. And honestly, just because watching those Bulls play, especially in that first half of the season, and then being so dominant, and him getting players like Levine, Caruso, Ball, and all this stuff, just to play so fluidly, get everybody to play hard, play for each other. And I think if it wasn't for some injuries too, like Caruso and Ball and stuff, and the Bulls could have just kept going and probably stayed higher in the seeding, easily. So it was just bad luck. That's all. But he still had those players playing well and beating really good teams, top tier teams. So I'm gonna go ahead now. I'm gonna give it to Billy.
Let me. Oh, actually, go ahead, Sebastian, because that's your guy.
I appreciate that. I do, but I don't think he deserves it. Here's why. We talked about the Rookie of the Year last week.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Kay Cunningham, and that's where I said it's a Rookie of the Year. You need to be good all year. That's where I'm going to bring in Ime Udoka, the coach of the Celtics.
That was my pick at the start of the year.
And him and Billy Donovan have had kind of a reverse of the way they've gone this season. Ime didn't have the best start. He was throwing his players under the bus. He was calling everybody out. And now they're the second seed in the East. They can easily go to be the first seed. They've had one of the best turnarounds we've had. Billy Donovan, we were the first seed for the majority of the season, but we've had a bit of a fall off. Now, let me ask you guys, would you guys think the coach of the year would be somebody who couldn't figure it out at the beginning of the season, but stuck through with his method and was able to figure it out, or somebody who started out the season well, but injuries for sure?
I would say the former, to be honest with you. I would say MA. If I'm choosing between not even the names, not even the teams, just those situations, because he was able to figure it out. However, in the opposite situation, where the one coach started hot and tailed off, he got figured out. You know what I mean? But again, that's not even taking in injuries, any other situations. Here's my argument for each of our coaches. Chris, you're on my far left. I'll start with you. The Raptors, no one. I just talked about how you had them finishing 8-10, but seeding 11. No one expected the Raptors to be where they are. They're competing. We're talking about the Chicago Bulls. They're competing with the Chicago Bulls for the 5th seed right now in the East, and the East is really competitive this year. No one expected. And you got to give Nick Nurse is noted as one of the best coaches in the league in terms of schemes, in terms of switching up defenses and whatnot. Going over to Chicago, Billy Donovan, I started at the start of the year saying I think Chicago will be good. The one issue that I think they'll have at the start is, fluidity and meshing everyone together. It's a lot of new faces, a lot of new teammates in a system, and a new coach. So, but he did it fine, and they started out really hot. You know what I mean? And then with Ty Lue, again, we talk about the injuries. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Norm Powell, all these guys were done. When Paul George left, they were a 500 team, or just above 500, or just below, like 17 to 18, and they stayed the exact same. That's maybe a credit to the depthness of their roster, but that's also a credit to Ty Lue. They just played the Utah Jazz and they made a 25-point comeback. That's PTSD for Utah, but like that doesn't happen without Ty Lue. Again, I think it'd be really cool if we did like a all coach team, but I really think that our three guys definitely should have their name in the hat for sure. Okay, eventually we'll get to when we get to our awards, we'll get to worst coach of the year. None of those three will be mentioned, thankfully.
No.
But sticking with the actual NBA awards, we'll move on to. Listen, this award has kind of been blown open lately. It's the DPOY, the Defensive Player of the Year award. There's a couple guys that could get it. Of course, Rudy's the name that always gets brought up. But Chris, who do you have winning the DPOY this year?
I think I still had Rudy winning it. But then, like you said, like I've been watching Giannis, and Giannis could potentially take that. This guy's all over the floor, guarding some of the best players out there, and he's just making like a difference for the Bucks. Now, again, looking at this Vegas spreadsheet, now I'm seeing Marcus Smart. Now it's like, oh, I didn't
deservingly so.
I didn't even know. But I think I read something was like a guard hasn't won Defensive Player of the Year since like 96, something like that.
They likely won't. They likely won't give it to a guard because it's that like they're used to giving it to a wing or a big, so it's like we're not going to give it to a guard.
Which is like I can see because I feel like as a guard, like yes, Marcus Smart, you're playing like good defense, but I feel like a wing or like a big, you can guard a little more positions, whereas like a guard, you're kind of. I feel like you can't really. I'm not putting Marcus Smart on like Jokic.
It's the same. It's the same conversation. I think that the argument that you're making is the same conversation that I talk about with Rudy. Mm-hmm. Right, Rudy. He takes away a certain section of the floor, sure, but coming out to the three, I'm not scared of Rudy guarding. Okay, put Marcus Smart in the paint. How scared are you really? Like if you got Giannis, if Marcus Smart is guarding Giannis, how scared are you really of Marcus Smart? So I understand the point that you're making. I feel like Sivash might rebuttal because it's the same argument that I made about Rudy. He's only taking away one aspect of the floor. Sivash, what are your thoughts on Marcus Smart and just Chris's opinion about a guard winning DPOY?
Marcus Smart kind of came into the conversation a few weeks ago by going around and talking about how it's kind of insane that a guard hasn't won since Gary Payton. And the big reason because of that is as time has gone on, we've depended more on numbers and the stats. And a big guy does defensively more impact the game than a guard because he just does more on the floor. A guard, let's say Marcus Smart, he's mostly guarding the best player. You can get rid of that. You can kind of cancel that defense by putting the best player in the corner and letting the other players do what they have to do if you don't have a good team defense. The same thing with a guy like Rudy. You can cancel him out by putting a shooter on him, the same way the Warriors did with them a few games ago. And there's all these clips of people going around, of people posting Rudy giving somebody an open shot because he's still standing in the paint. For me, I think it's Rudy. Marcus Smart has been a great defender for the majority of the year, but I just think, man, defensively, would I rather have a guy who can guard the best player? We're talking about the most of the season. In the playoffs, sure, you want a guy that can guard the best player, so the best player can be canceled out, but you can get beat still. Kawhi was guarding Luka a few years ago when they were playing, and Luka was still getting 30s and 40s. Yeah. Defense is not just a one-dimensional thing. We're not playing on the playground. Hey, I got this guy, and I'm going to shut him down. I'm going to smack the floor. it's not like that. You can run a pick and roll and get that guy off of you, right?
So y'all are both.
It's just to me. I think Rudy Gobert is the winner right now.
So y'all are both saying Rudy Gobert. Chris, that's your pick as well.
Yeah.
I can't disagree. If you won it, I wouldn't be like, oh, well, that's blasphemy, blah, blah, blah. But I gotta go with Giannis. I gotta stick with Giannis. I mean, especially just watching, and I get it. It's Defensive Player of the Year, but I'm just using the sample size that I've seen recently, and it's like they played against the Nets, they played against Philadelphia, and like they played against the Nuggets, and Giannis just KD, Embiid, Jokic just shut them the fuck down, and just. Being 7 foot, that athletic, he can literally guard any position. A nod I would also give to, but I haven't really watched him that much, and I know he was injured for a bit. Also Bam, again, still defensive player. I think I had him at the start of the year. He's another big that can guard multiple positions, but my pick would be Giannis.
I think you guys both picked Bam at the beginning of the season, and I disagreed. Yeah, I think both of you guys did. And I disagreed, and I'm here to say I was wrong. You guys definitely, that was a good pick, but he has missed 25 games, which is like a third of the season.
Yeah.
So I just don't think that will be.
That's why I can't give it to him. Which is ironic because if you look at the Vegas odds, I don't know if you still have them up, Chris, but I believe Bam's actually second for Vegas odds right now.
Let me check.
I think it goes second. Smart, Bam, Rudy, then Giannis. I think.
No, it actually goes Smart. Bam,
Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, and then Rudy, and then Giannis.
Right. Yeah, he's another guy
also, sorry, go ahead.
He's another guy that should get recognition, but I think behind Chris Paul, behind Devin Booker, behind DeAndre Ayton, he kind of gets forgotten about a little bit. I think maybe next year people will know his name a bit more, but he's fourth. You know what I mean? He's that fourth guy.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say a great quote that came out from an interview he did a few weeks ago. Mikal Bridges said, all these players get celebrated for dropping 40 and 50. Why don't I get celebrated from stopping those players from dropping 30 and 40 on me? I think that's incredible, bro. That's just like such a when you think about it, it's like that. This guy's really doing that.
No, that's true.
Okay, moving on to a polarizing award here. There's been a lot of conversation. There's, really 3 guys in the running, but I think it's maybe 1 or just 2 guys. But Rookie of the Year, Siavash, take it away.
At the start of the season, I had picked Kate Cunningham, and I think there's 2 names in this, just Kate and Evan Mobley. I'm kidding.
I was about to say
I did that just to get that reaction.
I was about to jump through the screen and choke you. Like, are you serious? You're serious.
I solely did that just to get that reaction.
Franz Wagner and Chris Duarte
is more deserving than Scotty. I am kidding. Scotty Barnes is my pick. I think it was definitely a close race between him and Mobley, but I think Scotty, look, man, after he missed like 10 shots in the All-Star weekend, he's definitely won his spot in my heart. He's gonna be.
It's probably just the jitters, man. First time at an All-Star game.
Did you see that clip of him hugging Tyrese Maxey?
He's like, I don't want to hug.
Yeah, he's like, yo, we're gonna hug. Tyrese's like, nah, we're just gonna dap it up. And he just hugs him.
Yeah.
Love the guy. My Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I was watching back last year's awards, and it's interesting because LaMelo missed some of the year. He played over 50% of the games. I think he played over like 60% of the games. But he did miss some of the year. Anthony Edwards didn't have the greatest start, but he had a good finish. Our pick, mine and Chris's pick, was LaMelo Ball for Rookie of the Year. However, Siavash, you took Anthony Edwards. LaMelo was more consistent throughout the whole year. However, he got injury. Anthony Edwards ramped it up halfway through the season. With that being said, I'm still taking Scotty Barnes. Evan Mobley, again, you can give the argument to him. One thing that I listened back to last episode that I kind of want to take back, I said that Evan Mobley lost it when Jarrett Allen went out. I don't think that's fair, to be honest with you. He's a rookie. Yeah, sure, like the defense and that position maybe, shone a spotlight on him a bit more. But I don't think it'd be fair to discredit him as a Rookie of the Year just because he lost his partner, a veteran, technically in the league as a defensive anchor in Jared Allen. But still, I'm going to give it to Scotty.
Thank you, brother.
I do think that Evan Mobley should have recognition, but I think Scotty, again, he's just been consistent, and they've relied on him.
I'm bricked up under this desk. You can't even tell.
We know. You talk about the Raptors every episode, so I figured maybe
not every episode, maybe every other episode. But it's nice. It's nice to have some respect put on my fucking name. Because most times if I bring up a Raptors take, you guys literally laugh me out. You try and laugh me out the chat.
That's why I don't want to do this. When he does get a win, he just doesn't stop, bro.
That's like you in 2K though. So.
But when Chicago or the Clippers get mentioned, we take it. But you're getting pretty horny about it. No,
I do because like if I make like a take like that or something, you guys are like, oh come on.
Well, you said Chris Boucher.
Every take is like that. But we're like, hey, so who's MVP? You're like, playing well when Pascal got a chance. It's like, no, he don't.
Yes, he did.
Everybody got a chance.
God, you guys. But anyways. Getting into
finding a reason not to have Yuta Watanabe be posterized on the Dunk of the Year.
Oh my god!
Just literally searching into space. I was watching the episode, trying to think of anybody else, any other poster, and Chris is just not having Anthony Edwards winning Dunk of the Year on Yuta Watanabe.
Chris is like, yo, Kendrick Perkins got dunked on by Blake Griffin.
Everybody gets dunked on.
I don't even remember who was the dunk of the year. I don't even remember.
You didn't give one. You were still trying to think of anybody but Anthony Edwards.
No, because that one was a good dunk. No, there was definitely some other big ones like last year too. But anyways, yes. I think at the start of the year, I think I had picked Evan Mobley.
You did.
As well, and stuff. And I saw I was like, it could come down to Evan and Scotty. And again, I feel like that's what it has come down to. This what's the
I don't know if you
didn't mention Scotty. You didn't mention
Scotty. No, I swear I did. No, I swear I did. I swear I mentioned Scotty. I was like, I could have Scotty, but you guys would call me crazy. So for that, I'm going with Evan Mobley. Something along those lines.
Let me also say one thing, and then we can move on to the big award.
Like, I wish I had my notes.
And I think they both will have good careers, great careers, especially looking at Scotty's year this year. Mm-hmm. We got to cut the narrative, and I'm not saying it's you, Chris, so don't feel like I'm attacking you. This is just people I see in Raptors TikTok or Raptors whatever culture. We got to cut the narrative of, Scotty Barnes is 10 times better than Jalen Suggs. Like, it is their first year. People were talking about this in a... No, I know. I'm not saying it was you. That's what I said. Yeah. I'm just saying Raptors fans, Raptors culture in general. Tyreke Evans won Rookie of the Year. Let's just remember that. Where's Tyreke Evans right now? I hope, both Scotty and Jalen Suggs have long, successful careers. But Raptors fans that are listening, y'all got to cut the narrative about...
diary away, bro. Your diary
receipts. The receipts, brother. Evan Mobley, maybe Scotty.
But y'all got to cut the narrative of Jalen Suggs being a bum and Scotty's going to be 10 times better than Jalen Suggs. It's their first year.
I don't think it's the narrative of Jalen Suggs being a bum. I think it's more so the narrative of where you had some people like you,
you
Raptor fans, you Raptors are fucking idiots. You're idiots for passing it up.
This guy because it was the perfect situation.
It was the perfect situation, but this worked out better.
Sure, exactly. But that's all I'm saying is you got to cut the narrative. Not you, Raptors fans in general, got to cut the narrative of we won this. But I hope they both have long, great careers. Yeah, but you can't judge a player off of 1 year. Tyreke Evans won Rookie of the Year. He's not even in the league. So
Toby's just saying that to save his ass after that take he gave at the start of the year.
I mean that's fine. Like again, we're allowed to backtrack on.
We're allowed to change. We're allowed to grow. Okay, opinions change, things change, and that's okay.
And moving on to the most valuable player of the year award, and this is really, some people will say it's between two people. Some people can argue it's between three people. I think, to be honest, lately one of the top two guys is maybe taking a back seat Chris, who do you have winning the most valuable player? Who is your most valuable player of the year?
Mine, I think I'm still riding with Jokic. I'm pretty sure I picked Jokic. Actually, I just had that on. Did I have Jokic at the start? Oh no, I actually had Embiid winning it at the start.
I don't know who I had.
Yeah, I just have my notes here. But no, I'm riding with Jokic just because of the things he's been doing, like essentially by himself, keeping this team alive. It does suck that they are where they are in like the standings. But again, it's all due to this guy's effort. So I think that might be the only thing that would really like affect like his ranking is just because he's not as high in the standings as let's say like actually Philly's only like one seat higher, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, no, I'm still gonna go with Jokic for sure.
Now, this is a conversation that we had last year about Steph Curry winning MVP. Which is interesting that you say this, Chris, because I believe that you all had also agreed with this. How much does where your team finish matter? Like we had talked about being a top 4 seed, winning an MVP. It's not like they're far out, they're 5th seed. It's not like, Steph when they were 8th seed. And I get it. He didn't have, MPJ and Jamal Murray, blah, blah, blah. What's your guys' thoughts on that? Do you still stick with that? Like, where's your feelings on that? Because if we look at it, there's 3 guys that I think it's Jokic, it's Embiid, and it's Giannis, and only 2 of them right now currently hold the top 4 seed, and it's the 2 guys in the East.
I don't know. Because I guess it's a little different. It's different in the case of the Steph situation because it's like, yes, he brought them back to be within like play-in potential and all that stuff. It didn't work out. Whereas as it stands now, Jokic has them in a playoff spot. He's got them there essentially by themselves, and he has that locked in. They're not fighting for their lives. They're not having to worry about it. They're in. They're good, basically. There's only a few games left.
Sivash, thoughts on that?
As I've said before, this is an award where I just look at who's the best player and where is this player ranking. You can't be the best player and sitting at the 12th seed. Then LeBron would have been the MVP. I think you got to be competing. How much value are you bringing to the team? Empty calories do not matter. But as you mentioned, there are 3 names in this race for all of us. Sure, it's a 5-spot MVP vote, but the 2 other spots really don't matter right now. The 3 names are Embiid, Jokic, and Giannis, no order. If you look at the stats, Jokic is playing at best out of all 3 of them. But then the standings, everybody brings it in. Oh, the Bucks right now are the 3rd seed. The Sixers are at the 4th seed. The Nuggets are at the 5th seed. You look at the wins, the Nuggets are 47. They got 47 wins, while the Bucks and the Sixers are tied for 48 wins.
That's a valid argument. Argument.
And at that same point, when we talk about value, we're not talking about the best player because we know Giannis is the best player right now in this league. Maybe even KD's up there. When we talk about value, the on and off numbers with Jokic are just insane. You take that guy off that team, I don't even know if they're going to be, I think they're going to be a lottery team, no question. And those injuries are a big part of that. So for me, I think my clear winner is Jokic. Giannis has made a great run for it lately. Embiid was in the race, but I think just the fact that Jokic has been consistently doing this and taking that team now, they have a chance at going for the 4th seed. It's incredible.
You know what? I was Giannis. When I look at my pre-predictions, I think I had Giannis. I had Luka being in the top 4, and I had Steph. I think on the fly I might change my pick. Again, Giannis, he's so good, man. He's so good. The best player in the league. You made the argument for maybe KD. I still think it's Giannis, just based on both ends of the floor. I think Joel Embiid has taken a 3rd spot. Again, you can make the argument of him being number 1. He's so dominant. But again, you made a good argument of, okay, you take that player off that team. You take Giannis off of Milwaukee. They still got Drew. They still got Chris Middleton. I think they make a play-in spot at least. You take Joel prior to James Harden. You take Joel off of the 76ers. I think they're probably doing as well as, the Nuggets without Jokic. But now they got James Harden. Whatever. Make your argument on that. But I think you're right, man. I think he's so good too. Like the passes that he makes, like he is what did you say the other day? A point center. Like he's so good, man. He's so good. I guess I got to give it to Jokic because you bring up another point. How can I discredit the guy because he plays in a tougher conference based on wins and losses? He's 5th seed with 47 wins. They are 5th seed with 47 wins. But, I guess, he would still slide in that 5th seed in the East, but it's not like it's far-fetched from the Bucks and the 76ers at 48. So, yeah, I'm going to go back and forth between Giannis and Jokic, but I don't think that you can have a wrong answer here. I think you can make a valid argument with any three of those guys, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think Giannis might have a chance at this. I'm not going to be upset if Giannis wins it and Jokic loses it, but I think this is one of those where if either one of 3 guys wins it, I think everybody will be satisfied. It's similar to the 2017 MVP race where Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Kawhi were having that race, and Kawhi was the third, but it wasn't a far third. It just
sneaky.
It was a sneaky third, But I think any of those guys win it, I wouldn't be upset.
Okay, so moving off of those 6 official awards, we'll get into the Lob It Up official awards. Most of these were all created on the fly last year. We're going to integrate these into every award show going forward. Maybe next year we should rent some tuxes and get a little official.
Right, just get those T-shirts with the tuxes printed on the front.
We'll buy some fake Grammy awards or whatever. We'll hand them out. But let's start at the top. The most surprising team this year. Who do you guys? I can start if you want. The most surprising team for me. Again, I already gave their coach recognition. No one had the Memphis Grizzlies doing this well. This well at the start of the year. To have the 2nd seed, and if it weren't for the Phoenix Suns being as dominant as they are, maybe even and I was gonna say even with Ja Morant being injured, right? They still were able to go 20-3 or 20-2 in his absence. So I'm gonna go with the Teddy Bears out in the West.
Teddy Bears up
the West. Wow, this guy put some respect on their name.
Oh, I am. That's why I'm put
little Teddies.
That's why I'm saying
Grizzlies.
That's why I'm saying, man, they're the most surprising team. I give them a lot of love this year for sure.
100%. I 100% agree with you. I do have them also listed as my most surprising team. Like you said, nobody in their right mind had them thinking they'd be going this far, doing like as well as they have done this year, especially with and without Ja. So kudos to those guys. Those Teddy Bears.
Sivash, what are your thoughts on our picks, and does it maybe coincide with yours?
If this was 6 weeks ago, I would have very much disagreed with you guys and picked the Bulls, but the Bulls have slept down, and I have no choice but to go with the Grizzlies. Very well deserving of this award. As you mentioned, nobody thought they would be here. So yeah, I agree. The Memphis Grizzlies.
Speaking of 6 weeks ago, if I was to pick a team, probably 6 weeks ago would be a team in the East, and it'd be the Cleveland Cavaliers. Again, no one really expected them to be that good, but they've slid down as well. And I hate doing this because you just talked about being bricked up, and then we went on this little segment, but also with the Raptors, very surprising this year. Okay, moving on to most surprising player of the year. Sivash, I'll let you get it started for this one. Who do you have as the most surprising player of the year for 2021-2022?
Why are you looking at me like that? See, you stop.
It's Pascal Siakam.
It is Pascal. Should be Pascal Siakam.
We were were gonna play that little prank on you, where I was gonna be like Pascal, and then Tobias was gonna be like, "Yeah, you know, I got that," just to get you going. But no, I can't even. I can't even give into my own jokes. The blasphemy. I will go with former Raptor, my guy, DeMar DeRozan.
Okay.
I think at the beginning of the season, there was definitely and nobody would have guessed that he would have had a season like this. At some point, I definitely think he wasn't running for the MVP. I came on the podcast and made the case for him. He had a really great season up until March, and he was All-NBA, he was All-Star. And then during the month of March, he went nuclear. The guy was having, I think, over 10 games of putting up 30 points or more. He was breaking stats where Wilt hasn't even broken. Mm-hmm. So, and, you know, he has slowed down a little bit, but I think he's been the most surprising player this season, at least for me. I try to think of other players. Sure, there are, you know, a few other players for sure in this category, but I'm just going to give love to my guy, DeMar DeRozan.
Okay, I like that.
Chris, what are your thoughts on his pick, and what's your selection?
No, like, I agree. Like, definitely got to give that shout out to DeMar, because, you know, if you would have asked me at the start of the season, do I feel like DeMar's gonna have his? I was like, yeah, you know, DeMar's probably gonna play how DeMar does. Like, whatever, he'll have his ups, he'll have his downs. But I didn't expect him to play like this consistently and work this well with the rest of the other Bulls players. And like you said, he's constantly been breaking records, doing this, doing that. So no, like I agree, he is deserving of that. It almost makes me want to switch mine, because now listening to you, I was like, oh, I wasn't even thinking of DeMar and stuff, and I was like, oh, DeMar's really good, because I had Freddie, just because, again, there was so much talk of him this year being like, oh, can he lead this Raptors team? Can he do this? Can he do that? Blah, blah, blah. To him, you know, eventually being selected for like the All-Star game, all that junk. So he's worked very hard to put up his numbers, and he's shown he can lead this team. He can do that. But after hearing your arguments, see, I'm probably going to have to agree with you with Mr. DeRozan there. So.
He saw us smiling and he said, I got to switch this up real quick or they're going to blast.
I agree. Listen, again, we pick on you a lot, but like, come on. Like Freddie, I think he has had a surprising season.
No, but you got to give the man his flowers, bro. You got to give him. Should. So then if I do try to give him flowers, don't be like, you shouldn't be giving him flowers. Don't give this guy flowers, Mark. So,
because listen, if I go around and we were like, okay, so defensive player of the year, you know, Caruso has been a great defensive player, but like, you know what, Rudy Gobert.
And Robert Covington, we could talk. You know what I mean? Like, we could eat.
Robert Covington has been playing.
Robert Covington, but he's only.
I would never. I would never do that.
As of late, and I could argue Caruso too. Caruso's defense has been phenomenal, and I think the Lakers made a terrible mistake in letting Caruso go and going to your Bulls. They fucking fumbled the bag hard with Caruso, all because they didn't talk to this guy. This guy wanted to stay. He wanted to stay, and they were just like, hey, we're not going to talk to you, and they let him go. You're an idiot. You guys are stupid. So
what is your...
When it came to most surprising player of the year, there's only one name that ever came up in my mind, to be honest with you. I couldn't think of anybody else. And it's interesting that these are the Lob It Up official awards, because 2 for 2 were all in sync, and DeMar was the only person that came to my mind. No one expected him to have that type of year. Low-key, little jealous, but also excited for you that he went to your team, but it was close to going to the Clippers, and I'm like, damn, bro. But realistically, if he went to the Clippers, he probably would have gotten injured in January, because that's just how things happen.
That's your curse.
But yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, DeMar, like, you can't really say much more. Like, you think Zach LaVine's going to be the guy. I think really DeMar DeRozan took the reins this year. Yes, he was. You know, there was weeks, especially in the NBA rankings, there was weeks that he was talked about as the most valuable player of the year. But yeah, I think most surprising award should definitely go to DeMar DeRozan for sure.
That's cool.
Moving on to the next award, I have a pick, but I don't really want to use this pick because it's kind of like tired out. So I'm gonna try to think while you guys tell me your picks. But it's the Chris Panette named Aaron Baines Dog Shit of the Year award. last year you submitted an award called the Aaron Baines Dog Shit of the Year award for just the player that absolute just fucking looks like he just took a dump in the middle of the court and spread it around. So, Chris, because it's your award, I'll let you get started. Who is your dog shit Aaron Baines Player of the Year award?
I feel like I know who your pick is, like Tobes, and you said it's been overplayed because I feel like maybe I have the same one. I don't want to say he's dog shit because he's definitely not dog shit, but it is just surprising. I am just unimpressed, and with that player, it's gonna be Westbrook this year. He has just delivered just a very underwhelming like performance this year, bro. And it's like you are supposed to be like a top like point guard in the league, and like I'm watching you jack up shots that are just hitting the side of the backboard. And then that was bullshit with the fucking Raptors, bro. Your shot just before you hit the backboard, then you get it back again, and then you switch, they cash the next one.
Oh,
bro, like what? Like what is that? And like, but that's not the only time he's been doing like dumb shit like that. So it's just like, you know what? I don't have to give it to you, Westbrook, just this year. You know, we got to get you something because you're not getting a championship. You're not getting any other.
You're not getting a play-in spot.
We'll get you something.
Before we started recording, we were brainstorming for this segment, and I said it to Tobe. I think Westbrook is the easy pick.
Yeah, but
I'm going to go with another player who I expected much better for this season, and he's disappointed me as well as his team. And it is for my Aaron Baines award goes to Julius Randle.
Ooh.
I thought about him as well.
Yeah, listen, man, whole season he's been trying to scrap with his teammates, with people on the other teams. It's just not looking good for him.
But I mean, that aside, like team chemistry aside, I feel like he's been playing better and more consistently than Westbrook.
Sure, but I think we would think about expectations, right? I don't think he's been playing consistently. I think he's been very inconsistent. The team has just not been good.
Let me look.
I just don't think. Let's say if we were to rename this award to the Pascal Siakam Award, he would be the clear winner. Because he had a great season.
Disappointing.
Got the bag, and he's just been dog shit this season.
The Chandler Parsons Award.
Chandler Parsons.
No, because that's injuries. That's injuries. No. Yeah, listen, we can go with Westbrook, but I think Julius Randle deserves this award right now. He is supposed to be the best player on that team, and he's just been dog shit.
Listen, Russell Westbrook, if you're watching this, first of all, I don't know how you found this.
Shout out to you.
Yeah.
Watching your fucking podcast.
Man,
he just hears his name tagged in anything, and he's gotta watch it.
It's at the point now where I kind of feel bad. And we could have just went 3 for 3. Again, and I think you're agreeing with us, Siavash, but you wanted to just, not rag on him so much, which I respect. But I'm trying. I'm really trying. I got the standings in front of me, and I'm just trying to find somebody. But I gotta give it to Russ, man. I just between him arguing with fans, yelling at fans, and just not performing at all well. We talked about stat padding again. He's your traditional stat padder.
Bro,
I have to pick him. I'm sorry, Russ, but
no,
a lot of this, it's not the whole Lakers situation isn't just on him, but he's got to wear a piece of it for sure.
And looking at Basketball Reference, the only site that Siavash accepts for basketball information, no, Julius basically is beating him in almost every. He's averaging more points, averaging more rebounds. The only thing that Russ is beating is obviously assists, because what does this guy do? This guy loves to stat pad.
What's the 3-point percentage comparison?
Russ is shooting 29.4 and Randall's shooting 33.2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But averages are not, again, we're talking about consistency and other things. First of all, Randall was the first option on that team.
That's bad.
Secondly, it's a dog shit team.
But
Thirdly,
though,
Russell is playing behind, again, it's just like Randall I expected much better for. Russell, I just expect, if you put Russell in a great situation, he's going to work out. Randall's in the same situation he was in last year. How do you go from good to dog shit?
Sure. I was not high on Julius Randle. If you guys go back to the start, I was not high. Coming into the season, I thought last year was a fluke. I did not think I did not think that he was going to have the same year. I didn't think the Knicks were going to have the same year. But I don't know. I hate that I'm ragging on the guy, but I don't know. All right. Dog of the Year award, my favorite award. This is an award that Steve, actually, you brought to the forefront. And last year, speaking of the guy, I had Russ winning the Dog of the Year award. I loved him in Washington. People are talking about. I've seen all this Grim Reaper meme with Russell Westbrook on the face, and he's going through each door, and it's like he's killing the OKC franchise, he's killing the Houston franchise, he's killing the Washington. I don't think he really killed the Washington franchise. I think he had a good year there. They went to the play-in. They got pieces for him, and they're doing well. Like, I think the disrespect for Russ in Washington is not deserved. But last year I had him as the Dog of the Year award. This year, a lot of Memphis flavor. Last year I had him as the runner-up. This year I'm going with Ja Morant as my Dog of the Year. Just dunking on people, just putting up buckets, and like it's that guy where you're like making that stank face. You're like, damn, oh my god, like this guy's nuts. I gotta go with Ja. He's that guy.
Okay. No, I definitely agree with you. I can definitely see that. This guy, has been just grinding, doing his thing, just getting better, and like you said, dunking on people, just absolutely crushing them. But for me, again, I went back with that player who we talked about potentially winning MVP with Jokic because of how he's just been grinding by himself. He's doing it all. Like he said, he's that center point guard. This guy could have had so many easy, like either like assists of the year, if not assists of like the decade, if just some of his other players just made those shots, because this guy was just doing insane things too. And again, playing as hard as he has been to keep that team alive and give them, a playoff spot and lock that in for them. So I'm going to go with like Jokic, because again, the Grizzlies, as great as like and explosive and as crazy as Ja's been, the Grizzlies have shown that they are just as good without him as they are with him. So
that's facts. I understand where you're coming from, but it's not like you're kind of looking at it. Maybe this is how I'm perceiving it, but you're looking at it more from like a valuable player type thing. Whereas like I'm just like, yo, this guy's like he's, you know what I mean? Like he's a dog. Like last year, like Russell Westbrook was definitely not anywhere near MVP, but like he just goes out there and he's angry at everybody. I'm like, yo, like this guy's walking around with Timberlands on the court. You know what I mean?
But I could say the same thing with
because I don't get that like face whenever it's Jokic. I'm like, wow, that was sick, but I'm not like,
I mean, yeah. Again, though, like the play styles are different.
I'll go back to it, and you hate when I say it, but it's just imagine Pat Bev walking down the street in his black Air Forces. That's that dog mentality. He doesn't need to be an all-star. He doesn't need
but at the same time, though, you can be watching. You can be subtle in your black Air Forces. You don't have to be the flashy guy saying, "Look at me, I'm wearing my black Air Forces." You just have to know you got the black Air Forces on. People are gonna know, hey, this guy got black Air Force energy. I gotta be careful. I gotta watch out.
I'm not gonna disagree with Chris's pick because last year I had Steph.
That's right, you did.
My argument was that Steph is carrying his team. He's he's being a dog. And I think. Again, when we think about the perception of it, sure, maybe Jokic is not that guy, but
what was it? One of the Morris brothers, is he still out after Jokic bumped him with his shoulder? Like, is he still in the hospital on life support? Like, I don't know.
That's facts.
Like, I haven't seen from the guy since he had his little bump. I was like, bro, that wasn't that hard of a bump. You're like, oh my neck.
He's still out on injury.
Yeah.
Relax. I'm torn between a few names. I'm going to pick a name, but I'm also going to give a shout out to another guy.
Sure.
I'm going to agree with Tobe. One of my names was Giannis, but I think I'm going to agree with Tobe. I'm going to go with Ja. That team just talks their shit.
I love it. They're just doing the gritty on the sideline. Like, yo, this team is so fun, bro.
Do you like that they do the gritty, or are you just jealous that they can do the gritty?
Brother, I can do the gritty.
This guy said relax.
I can do the gritty.
Right now. Do it right now.
Nah.
Show us the gritty right now.
It's a family show.
Angle the camera. Give us the gritty.
I got no pants on.
Wow.
Let's see it then.
It's a family show. Chris is talking about feeling shit in his nuts in the last award show. We're not getting up here.
No. Come on.
Whatever, man. I had a feeling in my loins, and that's all. Okay.
All right. My underdog for this award, and I just want to give a shout to this guy, is Jose Alvarado.
Yo,
from the Pelicans.
I was gonna bring him up. This guy spawns at the fucking corner. Like,
I love the guy, bro. And like he came in the league, I think, as an undrafted player, and he just got a contract this season. The way he's been playing, and one of my favorite clips from this season is when he's mic'd up and he's coming up the court, and D'Lo is guarding him, and D'Lo looks at the bench at the assistant coach. He's like, "Can he shoot?"
Yeah,
and
yes, I can.
Goes, "Yes, I can shoot." And then it cuts to him shooting and making it. I'm like, yo, this was hilarious.
Oh, Jose. I didn't know who he was for a second. I was like, oh, Brandon Ingram Jr. Yes.
Yeah.
Bro, when I was watching the game, I was like, yo, this guy looks exactly like Ingram right now. Just mini.
he just spawns. He spawns off the inbound pass.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, he keeps doing that. Yeah. That's
You mentioned the Memphis Grizzlies, Siavash, but just how that whole team just kind of carries that energy. I think you could give that award to a couple people. Again, we talked about this in the Memphis Grizzlies organization. I think we talked about this midway through the season about how these young guys right now don't give a fuck about these OGs. They do not care. They'll go at your head. Chris, you had mentioned Scotty going at KD, was guarding him right in his grill. Like, you know, the Lakers just played the New Orleans Pelicans last night. BI goes for his free throw and hits his free throw, and like the Pelicans are killing the Lakers, and just stares down LeBron, like shaking his head, like, yeah, you traded me, yeah, like you're losing. You know what I mean? So it's just like that energy of like, I wouldn't give BI the dog of the year, but just that same energy of like, yo, I'm not scared of you, and that's like a dog mentality. That's how I look at it. I'm like, yo, these guys are going at your neck, bro.
Yeah, no, these younger kids, man, they know they got the talent. There's something different in these waters these days, you know? Because I remember when we were all younger, back in the day, we're playing basketball on the playground, and it's like, oh, I got a 2-hand push my shot because I don't have enough strength to get the ball to the rim. And now I'm seeing 3rd, 4th graders windmill between the leg, and it's like, what? What's going on? Who are you?
You ate your Brussels sprouts for real,
sir. Like, damn.
You know, speaking of dog energy, speaking of that kind of like, you know, that stank face, something that goes with the dog energy is dunk of the year. Some angry dunks have been laid this year. I mean, thankfully we didn't see anybody put in a body bag like you'd want to Nabi last year.
Not yet.
But Anthony Edwards, actually, you know what? I do think he got dunked on a couple times this year. But
Anthony or Yuta?
No,
Yuta.
Probably. Yeah. You know what? That happens. You play defense, you get dunked on. It's a blood that.
But Anthony Edwards did have a couple, you know, nice dunks this year. But Chris, who do you have as your dunk of the year winner?
Honestly, Ja, bro. Like, this guy is so explosive. I could not pick between like one dunk. This guy's thrown down so many monster dunks. I think the one that caught my eye the most, so like they were playing like Cleveland, and he caught a lob, and this guy caught it like so far back, and like, there's no way you're throwing it down. Like his eye, he must have been eye level with the rim, and just boom, flushed it. I was like, ain't no way. Like, how are you so bouncy?
Yeah,
it's disgusting.
Yeah,
I'm actually shocked that Ja hasn't dunked over somebody yet. Like, I'm waiting. I'm actually waiting for it. Like, I'm waiting for him to jump over somebody. Like, it's gonna happen. He's gonna be the next Vince. You're gonna see the next like Vince. Oh,
D Rose. Siavash, dunk of the year. Who's your candidate?
I'm going with Ja Morant as well. The specific dunk I was thinking about was versus the Spurs. They gave me Ja 52 points. I think that dunk is just notable when Steven Adams threw him the ball and Ja just flew off and just dunked on. I think it was Poto or whoever.
Probably Poto, yeah.
It was just, man, that's the most exciting dunk. I think a few honorable mentions is Nasri dunking on Yuta. And
that's who it was. I knew it was a Minnesota player.
Yeah. And I think there was one, Anthony Edwards dunked over a Heat player. But I'm not sure if that
I think it was PJ Tucker.
Nah, it was like one of the shorter guys, but whatever. Like, yeah, Anthony Edwards flew over the guy, but I'm not sure if that dunk counted. Those are also some notable ones.
Oh, was that the one where was a foul or something?
I think so. They called it a charge.
Yeah.
I have two notables. And when I looked at Dunk of the Year, I was just watching some clips before we started. When I'm looking at Dunk of the Year, I'm looking at who they're dunking on. I think that is very important because you know, if it's some scrub out there, then it's just like, yeah, it's impressive, but like it's not as impressive as some of these guys. So this first one is Isaac Okoro, and he dunked on 3 Rocket players. It was actually disgusting. He dunked on 3 Rocket players, and then like he got down, he like looked at all 3 of them because they're all on the ground. Just like, yo, like that's embarrassing. Like that's some dog energy. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna give a quick shout out just because of sizes and stuff to my guy Reggie Jackson. He dunked on the Joker. That was pretty mean, one-handed dunk. But my dunk of the year, I just ragged on him, but it's Russell Westbrook on Rudy Gobert. Ferocious dunk on one of the most, you know, we talk about defensive player of the year. He dummied Rudy Gobert, and he was, again, you know, bringing that dog energy. He was angry. He's like, yeah. So I was like, you know what? As much as I've chirped him this year, as much as I ragged on his team, I got to give him some love. So I'm going to pick Russ on Rudy. But again, you know, Jaws definitely deserving that as
well. Yeah, okay. We like that.
Worst coach of the year. We talked about coach of the year. There's been a lot of great coaches this year, and I did have a bit of troubles picking my worst coach of the year because I'm not really sure. Like, I mean, you could go with Tibbs in New York because of seeding. You know, you could probably go with, who else are we looking at? You probably go with maybe the Kings coach Vogel. I'll go first, and I'm gonna go with this guy just because maybe not so much what he does on the court, but the fucking shit that comes out of his mouth off the court. Once again, Doc Rivers is throwing his players underneath the bus. I'm going with Doc Rivers, man. Like, I don't know how much longer. If Philly doesn't have success this year, they might start to look to go somewhere else with Philly's coaching head coach. I see fan bases are already getting tired of them, and they're like, yo, now we see what the Clippers were talking about, what they were bitching about near the end there. Again, I still think he's a good coach. Not very good at switching systems. He's very similar to Frank Vogel. At the tip-off, he puts out his lineup, he puts out his defensive schemes, and that's it. If it gets figured out, then it gets figured out. He's not a really good on-the-fly coach, but just in terms of his off-court personnel and how he decides to conduct interviews, I'm going with Doc Rivers.
Chris?
No, I definitely agree with that. Like, Tobes, 100%. Like, that's the one thing, like, I think I dislike the most about Doc Rivers is his, like, off-the-court antics and how he definitely throws his players under the bus. Like, I don't think I've ever heard him take accountability for, like, anything. Really, it's always somebody else's problem. It's always somebody else's fault. It's the star guy. They should be doing that. Like you said though too, there's also a case for you know, Frank, but it's like, who's really to like blame? Like, I guess, like, for that whole situation, because you know you essentially handpicked great players or players who should be great, but then again, you know, you have day-to-day Davis doing shit. You've got Westbrook being very inconsistent. You got LeBron playing his heart out still.
Frank Vogel didn't pick that team, though.
No, right? Like, he was just dealt those cards, and it's like he's trying. He's trying. So I'm gonna agree with you, and I'm gonna go with Mr. Doc Rivers again, just solely based on his attitude. I just hate that shit, you know, because you can't celebrate those wins and be like, yeah, I'm responsible. You know, we played our hearts out. We did. No, your players played your hearts out. Like,
yeah, respectfully, he hasn't done anything. Like, he hasn't done anything. He's blown a couple 3-1
what's
leads.
What's the last thing? Because he has how many championships, and they're all with the Celtic or with the Celtic.
Boston. Yeah.
Yeah, and look who was playing there. They gave you that championship.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything to.
Again, as a Clippers fan, he's not solely responsible for those 3-1 leads, but he's got a big piece in it. We look at, you know, the issues last year with Philadelphia. Not solely responsible for it, but he's got a big piece in it. See you, Bench. Worst coach of the year. Who are you looking
at? I was with you guys with the point you made about Doc throwing players on the bus, and I agree. When I think about the worst coach of the year, I just think of the roster you have, where we expected that roster to be, and of course circumstances. For that reason, I am going with Frank Vogel. I think Tibbs definitely had a spot of mind as well. He was doing a lot of that, a lot of throwing people onto the bus and just taking players out of the roster when they're not playing well. But
yeah, like Austin Reeves, who's probably been one of their best players, top 5 players on that roster this year, and like the second half of the last game he didn't even play, or maybe the whole game. So but yeah, disrespect.
And that's why I do have Frank in that spot for myself, because man, it's just the lineups he's been running. I've seen him run Russell Westbrook, Avery Bradley, Malik Monk, LeBron, and a big. That is the worst fucking lineup I've ever seen, man. Like, that's 3 guys that are under 6'3". Why would you run that lineup? Shooting, sure, but what about defense? What about being able to play off each other? Like, every time I've seen him, whenever LeBron wasn't playing, he's running Russell Westbrook with 2 bigs. Do you not know who Russell Westbrook is? Do you not understand Russell Westbrook's strengths? 2 guys in the paint, that doesn't work out. Bro. One thing I will disagree with you, though. Man, what do you guys want Doc Rivers to do? Go pick out the lineups? Like the lineup is given to you at the start of the season. As a coach, you got to make best of that.
Yeah, I agree, but he's also not just the coach. He does have part of the management with Philadelphia.
He did at some point with the Clippers. At this time with the Sixers, he does not.
Oh, does he not? Okay, I thought he was still part of the thing. The thing is that, like, yeah, I can look at Frank Vogel 100% and I can understand that. I honestly think Frank Vogel's trying to get himself fired. So, like,
I agree.
This like last quarter of the season, I don't even count, because I'm like, this man does not want to be associated with this, because the longer he is, the more tarnished his resume gets, and people are gonna be like, well, why are we gonna hire Frank Vogel as a coach? I don't think it's I don't think he's fully excused, but I don't think it's solely on him. Sure. I have one more. I don't know if anybody else has any more awards, but best trade of the year award. Now you can go a couple different ways with this. I'll go first so I can explain maybe my thinking on this. I got 2, but this is my main one. I've been a big, very vocal person about getting this player out of that team, because the star player on that team, he's better off without that player. And that would be Dallas Mavericks trading Kristaps Porzingis out of the Dallas Mavericks organization. If you look, we talk about our bet, Chris. Dallas, when they had Kristaps Porzingis before they made that trade, they were not in a top 4 seed. They were looking at that 6, not 7, but 6-5 spot, right? Mm-hmm. Since they've traded Kristaps Porzingis, like they can maybe take the 3rd seed away from the Golden State Warriors. The Kristaps Porzingis trade has been the best thing that's happened to the Dallas Mavericks. So my trade of the year is KP getting the fuck out of there, is what I wrote. An honorable mention, Steve Ash, I would like you to speak on it, to be honest with you. I don't want to speak on it because I know you are a very big fan of this one player. You've told me more about this player than I actually knew to begin with. It was the fleece, the Clippers getting Rocco and Norm Powell for Justice Winslow, Keon Johnson, like nothing. So I'll let you speak on that just briefly, but what's your guys' trade of the year award?
Yeah, that is definitely a fleece job, because they got Norman Powell and Rocco for I don't even know what.
Yeah,
right.
Irrelevant chips.
Yeah, it's just insane that the Blazers gave that up for that cheap. I think they could have definitely got like a 1st round pick
for sure
from a notable team for Rocco, but again, I don't understand what's going on in their front office. Mm-hmm. My pick for trade of the year, I just think about the most impactful, most interesting.
Sure.
No other choice but Harden for Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just becoming this fascinating thing where at the beginning we're like, wow, the Sixers finally fleeced somebody for, Ben Simmons, but then now it's looking like they got fleeced because Harden is living his AI life, just being out in strip clubs and out there, and by the Nets, you got Drummond and Curry doing their thing, but then, Simmons is still working his way back. It's just fascinating. Yeah, it's just interesting how it's changed both teams, and we're just looking like, we just don't know where it's going to go.
I think the Nets won that trade, and again, we talked about this afterwards. Why hasn't James Harden signed a contract yet? If I'm Philly, I may be getting a little worried. So I'm like, all right, what's happening? I know you said you wanted to do it at the end of the season, but like, what's happening here? Because now, if they don't do well in the playoffs, again, James hasn't maybe had the best time there in Philadelphia. He's had good games, but we look at that game versus the Nets. That first game, Kyrie locked him the fuck down. People don't really look at Kyrie like a defender like that, but he locked him the fuck down. He's like, I want James. So I don't know. I might be a little worried if I'm Philly. But Chris, what's your trade of the year? What are you looking at? And what are your thoughts on what Sebastian and I brought up with KP and with James Harden?
No, I can I know you're always like, yeah, KP, and like anytime I looked at KP, I had my rose-colored lenses on, and I'm looking at KP from the Knicks. That's what I'm. He
fools you, 7'3",
and that's what I see. That's what I see. So I was never here for the slant, but like I can definitely agree with you, and I can see how like the Mavericks have for sure picked it up since like he's gone, and definitely do agree with like that trade for Ben and Harden. Huge trade. Ben wanted out of there, needed out of there. Harden obviously not happy in the system, stuff like that too, bickering with whomsoever. And I think it worked out for the both of them because now Ben's on a team that like actually wants him, the team he wants to play for, and Harden is somewhere where I guess he maybe wants to play for, like you said. Maybe. I don't know. He's maybe still figuring it out. We'll see. Now my trade isn't like obviously like the most it's not a
flashy
exciting. It's not a flashy, not an exciting trade, nothing like that. But I think another player or former teammate should follow suit. And I'm just happy for CJ just being traded and being on the Pelicans now because Dame again, like CJ's doing very well on the Pelicans, and Dame, what has your loyalty got you? Nothing, literally nothing. I just want him out now. I just want him out. It's a get out situation now with Dame. Like I'm ready to go. I'm ready to fly down to Portland and take a picture of Dame with the flash on and wait for his nose to bleed because Dame must be in the sunken place of Portland. Like he has to. There's literally no reason for you to be that loyal to an organization that repeatedly kicked you, hoofs you in the nuts every season for like nothing. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But,
Chris, you're saying you're Lil Rel from the movie, just driving there trying to make him,
exactly
get him out of there.
I'm trying to get him out of there. I'm probably gonna pull up to the stadium and I'm gonna see freaking Damian Lillard crawling out the stadium, bloody and bleeding, and then just Trailblazer staff trying to drag him back in. And it's like, no, bro.
That movie was actually very scary. Done. Like it was a good movie, but it's actually very scary.
I know.
You know what the scariest part of that movie was for me?
What?
The girl dipping the cereal into the milk. I was
like, that psychopath.
I'm like, all right, that psychopath bitch. Like, get her out of here.
Eat it separate. Oh, God. But yeah, Dame's probably eating his milk and cereal separate down there in Portland right now. So, again, I'm just happy for CJ. He's out there. He's in the system. Obviously, you get traded to the Pelicans, who are sitting in the 9th spot now. They're in a play-in spot. But potentially next year when he has a fresh season, fresh start with them, they could go fairly far. So.
And imagine that, and I'll call it a big four. But imagine that big four with CJ, BI, Zion, and Jonas. I'm very impressed by Jonas this year. Very impressed.
It's a medium.
I love Jonas. Yeah, a medium.
Yeah.
Big-ish.
Sivash, I want to ask you a question because I know that this man over to my far left is so disrespectful to this player. But do you think with you, Chris? Do you think with Damian Lillard we might be seeing a modern day Reggie Miller situation? Again, with Reggie, it was like he stayed with the organization. He was so loyal to the organization. He kept just being, bumped. He can never get it done. Are we possibly seeing a modern day Reggie Miller situation?
But you have to look at it though. It's differently though, because back in the day, especially for like Reggie Miller, Michael Jordan, stuff like that, those players were rewarded for their loyalty. These players aren't rewarded for their loyalty. No one's rewarded nowadays. It's more so a business. And if you're loyal to a team that's not going to do anything for you, what's the point in being loyal? Mm-hmm. Go where you're going to have success.
I disagree with that. You are being rewarded for loyalty, and that is with the bag.
That's true. You're only be able to sign a 5-year, make a supermax deal.
But then again,
Bradley Beal right now, he's up on his contract. He has a player option, but everybody knows he's not going to sign it. And the reason I was rooting for the Wizards to trade him at this the deadline was because he's going to want that supermax, and then he's going to ask for a trade so he can sign it, get the bag, and then he can go for another team. Nobody is don't think he's going to be like, oh yeah, let me go to another team and just sign a deal with $40 million less.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I do think they are being rewarded, and Dame has spoken about it publicly that he's there for the bag. But at the same time,
at least he's honest,
like,
bro.
I get it. You're there for the bag. But then when it comes down to people talking about, like, oh, greats, this and that, accolades, stuff, what has Damian Lillard done since he's come into the league? Like, has he gotten any more accolades? Has he done, like, what else has he added to his resume? Yeah, your bank account's gotten fatter.
Here. I'm going to be very honest here, and this might be a hot take. Mm-hmm. I don't know why he's in the top 75 list.
No, 100%. I 100% agree with you. He has no business.
There's other players outside that they could be in. Klay Thompson.
And talking about Reggie Miller, I think with Reggie it was just different. It was a different era, and Reggie was just, I don't know if he was so loyal to the team. He just didn't care about going to another team. And Reggie doesn't, and I think Reggie is a little bit maybe overrated than he should have been, but I think at the end of the day, he's a great player. With Dame, I just think of a situation like, not exactly, but what's his name, Dirk with the Mavericks. He just wants to win it with that team.
Sure.
He just doesn't care to make that move, and I want him to move. I don't think he's gonna win it.
Yeah, and I respect the decision, but I'm also like, yo, like, come on, bro. Like, this is like, now we're gonna start to talk about your legacy in a different light. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Did anybody else have any other awards that I may have missed?
I don't think.
Talked about the most disappointing team.
Most disappointing team. Yes, we've talked about the most surprising team, but let's talk about the most disappointing team. So obviously,
would you like me to get started?
I would love you to get started. So maybe a team that we had higher expectations of that just did not do what we expected.
The reason I wanted to get started is because I have 6 names.
I think I say 6 teams.
6 teams.
Damn.
Now for this category.
And
I can go over them. Yeah, I can go over them with you guys. Of course, the Lakers and the Nets. Everybody had them at top of their conferences. We can think about that as a disappointment. For me personally, the Knicks and the Hawks. I think the seasons they both had last season, especially the Hawks, going to the conference finals was definitely disappointing. The Blazers, as we just talked about it with Dame, at the beginning of the season, everybody did have them in the playoffs, but they have had a disappointing season with the way Dame went down and the team just not being able to perform. Lastly, this team we talked about a little bit earlier. To me, they are the most disappointing team, and I'm going with the Utah Jazz.
Interesting. Yeah, we all had them high.
Yeah, everything to be the first seed. What happened? They just had chemistry issues. There's no excuse for them to not be the first seed. They had everything they had last season. They should have come out and be better. They're still suffering from the loss they had in the playoffs to the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yeah, PTSD. Chris, what are your thoughts on his selections? I'm sure that your pick is probably in one of those, but give us your thoughts.
No, I definitely can see exactly where C is coming from all of his like choices and all of his like things. Yeah, he's presenting like good, strong arguments. Like you said, yeah, you know what? Obviously, the easy pick, like you said, is obviously with either the Lakers or the Nets because everybody had these teams just absolutely steamrolling everybody. But listening to your argument about the Jazz, like you said, yeah, they had literally everything that they needed to be a top 3 team, and then what? Like what's going on? You know, what's going on with this like organization now? They're so hot and they're cold. Like looking back at like some of their games, mind you, though, I can't say anything. You lost to the Hornets, but so did the Nets. Nets lost to the Hornets too. I like the Hornets. I'm gonna just plug that in too.
Yeah, I think the Jazz, like I said at the start of the episode, I think the Jazz if they don't make noise in the playoffs, like if they don't get out of the first round, there's gonna be a trade. There's gonna be a trade 100%. And it's not gonna be Donovan Mitchell going to the Lakers. I think for my most disappointing team, you mentioned obviously a few teams, Siavash. I think it would be the Trailblazers. However, I understand with the Trailblazers, at some point they started trading things away, but they definitely should be mentioned. The Nets, I understand. I can sort of give them a pass because Kyrie only played half the game he only played half a season. When he did come back, he only played half the games, and now he's ramped up to full-time minutes. The Jazz are definitely a very, very good team to choose because you're right. We all had them top 3, but I got to go with the Lakers. We all had them a top 2 team. And they're 11th. They might not even make the play-in. That's embarrassing. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they just made an award for Kareem, like the most social justice player of the year. They gave it to Carmelo Anthony, so plug for Melo. But Kareem even said, he's like, what's happening? Again, I'm not saying that it's all Vogel's fault. I'm not saying it's all Pelinka's fault. It's not all LeBron's or not all Russ's fault. But Kareem said, LeBron should be embarrassed as to what's happening underneath him with the organization. I just think that Lakers team, again, we talk about 4, 5 Hall of Famers on a team. We go back to that tweet that LeBron James put out at the start of the season. It was like, keep talking about my team, my personnel, the ages, blah, blah, blah. It was funny. There was something on Twitter the other day. They're like, yo, you gotta stop calling out LeBron for the injuries and stuff, blah, blah, blah. Why are you guys doing that? And I literally just screenshotted the tweet and I replied to him like, he literally told us to. Like, well, what do you mean? Because he's like, keep that same energy when we're up. I'm like, bro, the guy told us to. Like, what do you want? I'm just following what he asked. But yeah, the Lakers, again, just the whole unit, the whole organization. They were looking at getting fucking 80-year-old Phil Jackson in to coach. Like they got Kurt Rambis there, who's drunk half the time. They have no idea what's going on. So. I honestly, I kind of feel bad. I kind of feel bad for one person on that team, and it's LeBron. I've tweeted out a couple times, #free LeBron James. I feel bad for that guy. I feel bad. So that's my most disappointing team. Chris, do you have any other awards that you maybe want to sprinkle in? Or are we all good for the Lob It Up Awards this year?
I think we're all good for them awards. I'm trying to think back to last year's awards. I think that was all of them.
That was all of them, yep.
Most important, yeah.
Okay, well, with that being said, this was another episode of the Lob It Up Podcast. The next episode, I think, is going to come a bit early. We're going to have to discuss recording times because we're getting into the play-in. Actually, play-in starts next Tuesday, so we'll do that. But we're talking play-in predictions, and we're going to be talking playoff predictions when the final matchups get underway. One more time, we'll see if maybe TJ Warren can slip in a reference in that playoff prediction episode. There you have it. That was another episode. Catch you in the next one. Peace.